problems of our families, of the society at large, and just wonder, how in the world we got to such a degraded state? Why people get so sick? Why their mind is so occluded? Alcohol, the oldest, the most covert, and the most used poison that never was exposed to the full extent. Ethanol is the most covert, the most hidden poison. Do you have a family member with crippled newborns who died of cancer, heart attack, stroke, being young? I do. The ethanol was the major cause of it. So let's continue our investigation about this hidden drug and see the next report.
Alcohol has been used since ancient Egyptian times. Here is a record from a wall of the pyramids. Beer in the morning, beer in the afternoon, and beer at night. A little wine thrown in for good measure, and after a hard day of cutting stones for the pharaoh, time and energy left for a bit of hanky-panky. The worshippers of Tenerit, goddess of beer, or Sekhmet, and Hathor, got drunk on beer as part of their worship of these goddesses. But in ancient party scenes on tomb walls, it would seem that quite a bit of wine was consumed, since images depict guests throwing up or being carried home because of their drunken state. Drunkenness was suggested as an amusement to the ancient Egyptian workers. At celebrations of drunkenness to the Eye of Ra, wine was given to everybody. The temples associated with the goddesses had their own vineyards to make sure that celebrants had enough wine for the rituals. In the pyramid texts, the god Shesmu brings the king grape juice for wine production. Although he was a god of wine and of the winepress, he was also a vengeful god. In later Egyptian records, beer and wine production was owned by priests and given to people in religious ceremonies to drive drunk, intoxicated slaves into the state of ecstasy. Beer was the most used Egyptian drink for slaves. It was a drink for adults and children alike. It was the staple drink of the poor. Workmen at the pyramids of the Giza Plateau were given beer 3 times a day. 5 kinds of beer and 4 kinds of wine were found by archaeologists poking through dumps, examining skeletons, texts, remains of beer jars, and wine vats. In medieval Europe, the Roman Catholic Church was a staunch supporter of wine, since it was necessary for the celebration of Mass. Monks in France made wine for years, storing it in underground caves to age it and make champagne. Alcohol is quite often connected to religious ceremonies. And as we understand it now, alcohol was used to make slaves drunk and insane to keep slavery going. And it is still a mechanism for control. It makes people sick and busy with doctors and hospitals. It keeps IQ low. This way nobody gets smart and sees outside the box. In the animal kingdom, there is a similar pattern of slavery through intoxication. The Lomachusa beetle. Beetles enter an anthill. Then the ants run to kick out the intruder. The beetle then acts as a drug peddler. It produces a substance which acts as a drug to the ants. They become intoxicated and feed and groom the beetle. The ants even feed the grubs of the beetle. We see in society people who act like the Lomachusa beetle. Think of a time when you refused to get intoxicated while others did not. Alcohol is everywhere. It is a drug. It must be stopped immediately and forever. Show this video to all your people. Help them get out of the slavery. From now on, we don't use the term alcoholic beverage. We call it alcohol poison. Production of pure alcohol is incredibly cheap. The cost of 1 bottle of vodka is 9 cents. The annual world sales of hard alcohol is $250 billion. That's why the biggest, most gigantic promotions in our towns belong to the alcohol industry. It is complete insanity. Propaganda is getting more and more in your face. The system is practicing this absurdity supported by the media, and even medical practitioners condition people to believe that it's okay to drink, even saying moderate alcohol drinking is the solution to practically all major health problems that the alcohol in fact causes. Well, draw this picture with the yeast bacteria urinating the alcohol. Show it to your children. They'll have lots of fun finding out what those adults drink. Alcohol, like all other drugs, makes you weak and stupid. It doesn't make you cool. Educate your kids. Save a child, and you save a nation. The New York State Department of Health, on one of its educational charts, has a strong statement. Alcohol causes more misery, sickness, inefficiency, and death than any other single cause. It is not a food. It is poison. Total abstinence decidedly decreases longevity. Alcohol paralyzes the micromuscles in the eye. It coagulates blood in the microcapillaries, blocks nutrients and oxygen delivery to the eye cells. This results in eye diseases. In the 60s, a group of scientists were learning newborn pigs' behavior. They found that in 6 weeks, they create a pack. One of, not the biggest usually, but likely the bravest, became a leader. He commands all other piglets. He is the first to the food trough, and all the other pigs wait till he's done. One day, a scientist included beer with the slops. So the leader piglet ran up as usual, but didn't start to eat. He smelled the slops, smelled again, looked really confused. He looked to the left, looked to the right, not sure what to do. But he was hungry and ate. When he walked away, the rest of the pack ran up to the slop. 15 minutes after they ate, the piglets became overactive. They started to fight with each other and even bite the leader. But in a short while, they became disoriented, started to shiver, hide in the corners, and fell asleep. In a couple of days, everything was back on track. The order was restored. The scientists gave them food with beer again. The leader piglet ran up. He didn't start to eat again. He looked left, looked right, looked above. Then he hooked the trough by his little snout and overturned it. The scientists thought it was an accident. He gave them the slop with the beer again, but the pig jumped and overturned it this time. Isn't it amazing? A small piglet with his little brain had enough mind to reject alcohol, to detect that it was not edible, and wouldn't let the pack get harmed again. Look around. This poison is everywhere. You most likely were not aware of what alcohol really is. Well, you are now. Become a leader in your family, your community. Prevent people from self-poisoning. We must eliminate this hidden killing weapon from our civilization once and forever. The question is, are we conscious enough to overturn this alcohol slop? You know that the 1950s in the United States was called the Pink Age. Remember the great cars, the beautiful girls with a narrow waist, handsome men in great shape? You know that most houses had no keys? People trusted each other. There was not much criminality. They had a higher IQ, better health, stronger integrity. Now look at this overweight population, our models. Flat, breathless body. Look at the men with the big belly, too broad hips, some even pretending that they are women. This is a sign of degeneration. That's the result of alcoholization. We read from a medical encyclopedia. A drug, basically speaking, is any substance that, when absorbed into the body of a living organism, alters normal bodily function. What else do we know? Practically everywhere, alcohol is suggested as a recreational drug. Whoever put these two words together was fatally ignorant, because it is not a recreation to be harming health and the mind. From the encyclopedia again, recreational drugs are chemical substances that affect the central nervous system, such as opioids or hallucinogens. As an example, you could hear on the news that people got this or that unknown dreadful infection after vacation on some cruise. Well, these people did a lot of drinking on those cruises, killed armies of their cells, ruined the biological balance. Well, no wonder they got sick. National prohibition led to a boom in the cruise industry. By taking what were advertised as cruises to nowhere, people could legally consume alcohol as soon as the ship entered international waters, where they could typically cruise in circles. These cruises quickly became known as booze cruises. More profit for the medicine industry. The last thing on alcohol: heroin and alcohol are narcotics at the same level of addiction. It is not overstating, but the scientific fact. So let's finally get off this delusion that lasted for such a long time. The old saying, everything in moderation, is no longer applicable. Only the insane would take poisons in moderation. In 1975, during the Congress of the World Health Organization, alcohol was defined as a toxin. This is all that people would have to know to reject this poison instantly and forever.
That's the end of this report. See you tomorrow with the next one. Till then, continue to open people's eyes towards this danger, the drug poison number 1. And don't forget, this is InfoWar, info awareness. Ludmila, Lloyd, Hollywood, California.